Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Healthy Cooking with Shayda, where I teach you how to make simple, healthy, delicious meals that are salt, oil, and sugar-free. The Jewish holiday is coming up, Passover is coming up, and one of the dishes that I like to make is kugel. Now, typically, kugel is made with egg noodles, and it's a casserole dish, and typically we make it for Shabbat or for any of the Jewish holidays. Now, Ashkenazis make this all the time. They're known for making all different types of kugels, and they're absolutely delicious. But today, I'm going to be teaching you how to make it in a sweet way. Typically, you can make it either sweet or savory, and I've chosen to make it sweet. And we are going to use, instead of using the egg noodles, we are going to be using sweet potatoes. We're going to be using apples and dried mango pieces and barberries, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. So I'm excited to share this with you because I know a lot of us, the holidays are coming, and it'll be a great addition to our Passover table and also to eat during the week of Passover. So we're going to start out. The recipe is going to be on my website, so please go ahead and get the recipe from my website. And you know, if there's things that you want to interchange, by all means you certainly can. Like, in fact, this recipe calls for apple juice, but as I was getting ready to make this video, unfortunately, for whatever reason, I don't have apple juice. But because I love pomegranates, guess what I do have? I have pomegranate juice. So today I'm going to substitute, instead of the apple juice, I'm going to substitute it with the pomegranate juice. So it's okay to interchange things. And if you don't want to use the dried mango and there's dried apricots you want to use that. And in fact, today I'm also going to be adding barberries in this recipe. Now the barberries, right now, they are rehydrating, because these you have to rinse and get all the stuff off. So it is rehydrating right now. So we're going to be adding those to that. Now, typically you can find the barberries at any Middle Eastern store. If you do not have a Middle Eastern store close to you, please visit my website. I have my Amazon favorites, which a lot of the products that I use, you can find them there, so that way you'll get familiar with some of the stuff that I use. And the barberries are on the website as well, so you can order barberries. But should you choose not to add barberries, you can add cranberries, you can add dried cherries, you could, chop up some figs in there. So experiment, have fun with it. The world is your oyster in your kitchen. So what I'm going to do is rinse this out, get everything out, because it's been in there for a while. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is I've shredded the sweet potatoes. See, I turned my oven on so that it will be ready to go into the oven. So the sweet potatoes have been processed in my food processor, and I love it because it's got that grating disc in there, so I can go ahead and grate everything and put it in there. So you will probably want about 5 to 6 medium-sized potatoes. Next, we are going to be adding, I have grated apples here that we went ahead and did ahead of time to add to this. Now, because of the oxidation that happens with the apples, your apples are going to start to turn a little green. Or not green, they're going to turn a little brown, which is completely okay. Don't worry about it. Add a little bit of lemon juice to it, and the lemon juice will, because of the acidity, the lemon juice will help it so that it doesn't turn completely brown. Next, we're going to add the barberries in here. Barberries are absolutely delicious. They're high in nutrient. It's really good. It's got a little bit of a sour taste to it. So we use it in the Middle Eastern cooking. We use a lot of it, in fact, and it's delicious. Now, for some reason, the potatoes seem a little bit dry today, and I've noticed that when I grate the potatoes by hand, they're a lot wetter. But when I do it in the food processor, it's a little bit drier, which It's not going to change anything. It may just change the amount of flour that I'm going to add to it, and maybe a little bit of the liquid. So that's something that you're going to have to work around, because I don't know the size of the potato. Like, I may get 6 or 7 medium-sized potatoes, but where you're at, it may be the sizes are going to be different. Next, I'm going to add chopped mango to this. So as you can see, it's again a lot of the sweet stuff. As far as spices are concerned, let me just clean this a little bit. As far as the spices are concerned, we are going to add cardamom. I absolutely love cardamom, and in fact, the recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of cardamom, but for something this size, I'm probably going to add a little bit more, and it's okay. It's all to your preference. So don't feel that you have to add exactly what I'm adding. Experiment with it, and in fact, if you want to add a little bit more, go right ahead. It's okay, like I just did. Just because this looks like to be a lot. We are also going to add dried ginger. So probably about a teaspoon of dried ginger. If you're not using dried ginger, you really should. Dried ginger is delicious in your salads. Make sure you utilize it. So we put dried ginger in there. What's something sweet without some cinnamon? We all need that little bit of cinnamon. So again, your cinnamon, if you want to add more, usually I put about 2 teaspoons. Again, because this is a much bigger dish, then I might go a little bit more. I'm okay. And we're also going to add some dried nutmeg, ground nutmeg. This is why you want to wear gloves, because you really, I think mixing by a spoon is great, but there's nothing like mixing it by hand, because it'll really get everything incorporated much, much better. The spoon can't get all the way underneath where everything needs to be mixed. So don't feel like you can't use your hands in this. Just, if I were you, I'd wear gloves, which I do. Next, we are going to add our chickpea flour. Now, you can use chickpea flour, you could use quinoa flour, you could use oat flour. It's your preference. We typically like the chickpea, and for Passover, I know the Ashkenazis probably would not use the chickpea flour, so go ahead and add the flour. You could even add matzah meal to this. It will still turn out delicious. So let's add our flour to it. And the chickpea, it's really funny, the chickpea flour that we buy from the Middle Eastern store has such a nice flavor to it. It's totally different than the ones that I buy from Bob's Red Mill. And if you read the ingredient, it just says chickpea. So I'm really not sure why there's that difference. So you want to mix this, get it all in here, incorporated, and then we're going to add our liquid to this soon, which is going to be the pomegranate juice today instead of the apple juice. Now, one time I did make this with dried golden berries, and that turned out really nice, so you might want to experiment with that. So just play with it, just experiment with different types of dried fruit. And if you don't want to use dried fruit, again, you don't have to. So now, as far as the pomegranate juice, we're going to probably put about a cup in here. We're going to start out with a cup. A cup should be enough, but sometimes we may need a little bit more. Okay, now we really want this to get all soaked up and incorporated. Now I did add a little bit more of the pomegranate to this pomegranate juice because I wanted everything to get really soaked up in there. So now this is ready. Okay, so if you see that it needs a little bit more flour, go ahead and add it. We did add a little bit more to this mixture, which is completely fine. So now that it's all really well mixed and everything, I'm going to be putting this in a 13 by 9 silicone pan dish. Okay, so now that we've got this in here, you're going to want to pat it down and make sure that it's completely in there, packed really, really good. So you're going to use your hands and you're just going to go down and flatten it out and make sure that it's even, like you don't have a lump somewhere in the middle where there's more to one side and less on the other side. You want this completely evened out in here. So now this is ready, and we are going to be putting this in the oven at 375 degrees for about 30 to 40 minutes, which at that point we're going to take it out, and then I'm going to show you what we're going to put on top, because this makes it even more tasty with the almonds and stuff that we're going to be putting on top of this. So this is ready now. We're going to put this in the oven and we're going to be right back. So the kugel's been in the oven for about 45 minutes. I've gone ahead and taken it out. And the next thing that we're going to do is the topping that's going to go on top of the kugel. The other thing I've done is the kugel has been baking in there at 375. I have since turned the oven down to 350 because I don't want the nuts to burn too quickly when it's in the oven at a higher temperature. So I've got raw slivered almonds in here, and I've got raw chopped pecans, and what I'm going to add to it is a little bit of a date syrup, and I buy mine from the Date Lady. She's online. If you have a hard time finding it, you can go to my Amazon affiliate page and it's on there. And all we're going to do is take the date syrup and we're just going to add a little bit on top. You don't need a lot of this. And then we're just going to mix it. We're going to mix it until everything is well coated. You want the pecans and the slivered almonds well coated, because what we're going to do is we're going to put this on top of the kugel and then we're going to bake it. Now, it's Passover, it's Shabbat, it's, you know, some special occasion, so it's okay to do a little bit. But if you do not want to add the nuts on top of the kugel is delicious all on its own. So let's bring the kugel over. And what we're going to do now is we're going to spoon some of this in here and we're going to try to cover the top. You don't have to cover every inch of this by any means, but you do want a fair amount on here. So make sure you get it spread out pretty well. I find that the almonds and the pecans is the best combination for this recipe, but you are welcome to use whatever nuts you like. Okay, so this is ready. Basically, that's what it looks like. And now we are going to put this into the oven So back in the oven it goes at 350 degrees. We're going to leave it in there for about 15 to 20 minutes. Keep an eye on it because the nuts will burn quickly, and that's not what we want. We don't want anything burning. And then once it's up, I'll take it out and I'll show it to you. It will have to rest and cool off before we really cut into it. So stay tuned. We'll be right back, guys. So our sweet potato kugel is ready. I have taken it out of the oven. I wanted to show it to you guys. What I would highly recommend is that when you first take this out, let it sit, let it cool before cutting. So this has been sitting for a few hours now, and it has completely cooled. When it cools, it makes it a lot easier to cut, and in actuality, it tastes really good when it's cooler. I actually prefer this cold than I do hot. And in fact, with some of my friends that I have given this to, they call it dessert, and they've, you know, I got a message saying, hey, thanks for the dessert. I love the dessert that you sent me, because it really does taste like a dessert with everything that's in it. To me, it is a dessert. So I have, because I'm cutting it into the silicone pan, you don't want to cut with just a knife, because the knife, I don't want it to ruin my silicone base. So I have a cutter that's plastic, and it's really well. I love it. I got it at Home Goods. I think it was like a couple of bucks, and it works perfectly for cutting things that are in the silicone, and it makes my life so much easier. So we're just going to cut it. So I've gone ahead and made the cuts in here, and what I'm finding that the easiest way of doing this, because sometimes the first cut is always the hardest to try to get something out. What I've learned with the silicone dishes, if you let them completely cool down, then what you can do is you can raise it like at this side corner and just press this up, put your spatula underneath it, and look how beautifully that just came out. And there you have it. Now, how easy was that? And there's my sweet potato kugel for the holidays. Thank you for watching another episode of Healthy Cooking with Shayda. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us and give us a thumbs up, and make sure to ring that bell so that you will get notified every time we go live, and so that you don't miss any episodes. We are trying to reach as many people as possible, and that only can happen with you sharing our videos to your friends and your family. And remember, guys, it's one bite at a time, one meal at a time. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.